Hi everyone, so a couple of nights ago I went to see a musical that is apparently one of the most anticipated musicals of the decade, Viva Forever. This show, as you probably already know, is filled with Spice Girls songs, and I think that's probably why everyone's been so excited about it, because, Spice Girls, come on. Now, I personally never was a massive Spice Girls fan when I was younger. I liked some of their songs, but I was more into S Club 7. I think I was a bit too young still when Spice Girls were around. But I still like them. like Wannabe and To Become One. Some of their hits, obviously everyone knows them, and everyone likes them as well, even though some people may not admit it. But, they were popular and they still are popular, and they were arguably the biggest girl band ever. So it's no surprise that when it was announced that there was going to be a musical, a Spice Girls based musical opening in London, everybody was talking about it. I went to the second preview of this show on the 28th of November 2012. It was Wednesday. And the interesting thing is that it's already pretty much sold out for the next couple of months, even though nobody really knew what the show was going to be about. Like, even before the first preview opened, it was pretty much sold out just because people are excited about Spice Girls and people want to hear Spice Girls songs in a show. So it's just amazing how a name like the Spice Girls' name can have such a massive effect on ticket sales and a show in general. Anyway, I really wasn't sure what to expect from the show. I knew that it wasn't going to be the story of Spice Girls, which I was pleased about because, the Spice Girls haven't really had an interesting story in my opinion, as far as I know, and I don't usually like shows like that, autobiographical shows. I just find them boring unless it's someone that I actually care about a lot, like a band or a singer that I really care about. I just find, shows like that really lazy and not interesting. So I was excited to see kind of what story they'd come up with to, for the songs of Spice Girls. I'd read a bit about what the plot was going to be, so I kind of knew there was going to be about a girl group entering a talent competition and what happens to one of them, blah blah blah. And that's pretty much what the story is. The show starts with a girl group called, I think Eternity, that's what the name was, I think. And there's 4 members in that group. One of the members is called Viva. They're basically in the middle of this talent competition, like the X Factor, and they just kind of go on about how they really want to win it and how they want to be famous and how they're determined to make it work and what they're going to do to win. Then we get to meet Viva's mother towards the beginning of the show, which was played by Sally Ann Triplett, who was really, really good. And the show follows Viva's journey as she goes through this competition and what happens to her and the impacts that this talent competition has on her personal life and stuff like that. It's not a very interesting story, but I thought that it was a story that everyone can relate to, especially these days. Everyone watches shows like The X Factor, Strictly Come Dancing, reality shows that's basically taken over everyone's lives. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. It could be a bad thing, it could be a good thing. I like to watch reality shows myself every now and then, and I find myself getting addicted to them, like The X Factor. Shows like The X Factor I always have to watch. Even though they annoy me, I still watch them. So I think in that sense it was very, very relevant, the story, and it was something that everyone could relate to and understand, the general public. I don't think there's anyone who's not familiar with The X Factor. So yeah, it was interesting to have like a reality TV show type thing turned into a musical on stage. I quite like that. The role of Viva was played by Hannah John Kamen. I thought she was good. She was pretty good. I think this is her first ever West End show. And considering that, she was really good. I thought she showed the frustrations of a young teenager very well, because there's parts in the show where she's like arguing with her mom about how she wants to become independent and do her own thing, and how she doesn't want to follow her mom's footsteps, and how she knows what her future plans are and she doesn't have to do what her mom wants her to do and stuff like that. And she was pretty convincing, and she also had a really, really good voice. Her relationship with her onstage mum, played by Sally Ann Triplett, like I said, was very believable. I thought they had great chemistry and both of them bounced off each other, and it was just great to watch. They were they convinced me, at least, that they were mother and daughter. Even though, if you go and see the show, they actually aren't mother and daughter. I don't want to give too much away, but it's not like it's much of a big secret anyway. She's adopted, basically. Viva's adopted, and she doesn't really know who her real mom is. There you go, I just spoiled the secret for you. Not really. Viva's bandmates in the group Eternity, before Viva goes off to do her own thing, were a bit underwhelming, if I'm honest. They were good in their own rights, but especially one or two of them I thought were a bit, I don't know, I wanted to see more from them, to see more character, more energy, more fun. One of them I thought was really, really good. Siobhan Athwal, she played the role of Luce. She was always in character, she was always energetic, she had lots of fun on stage. She gave a really good performance in my opinion, and for me she was the strongest link in that group. That's not to say the other two weren't good though, I just think that there wasn't enough chemistry between the four girls, and I don't know, I felt like I wanted more from all of them really. And I'm sure that that's going to come with more shows and stuff. I mean, it was only the second preview, so with experience and more shows, they're going to develop a much stronger bond, and it's going to be a lot better, I'm sure. One of the personal highlights for me was Sally Dexter's performance. She plays the character of Simone, and she's one of the judges on the show, this talent show. And I thought she was absolutely brilliant. She sings a song or two, I can't remember which ones. But obviously her voice is amazing, and her acting was brilliant as well. She was so, funny in a weird way in that character. She was basically a typical judge, the judges that we always see on TV and stuff in talent shows. And she portrayed that very, very well, and it definitely was one of the best performances of the night. Another standout performance in the show for me was from Lucy Montgomery, who played the role of Susie. Susie's Viva's mom's friend, I believe, and she was absolutely hilarious. Every single scene that she was in, there was at least one laugh out loud moment, and I absolutely loved her performance. She was brilliant, and if I ever go back to see the show, it's probably mainly because of her performance. So that's pretty much the cast. I mean, all the performances in the show were good, and there were some other very good performances, but to me these two were the best ones, the most standout ones anyway. But again, I'm sure everyone else is going to get better and better as they do more previews. The ensemble was very good, a standard good ensemble. They didn't really do much. I mean, they were in some of the scenes, a few of the scenes, they had some big moments like with dancing and stuff. But overall, I don't know, they weren't very memorable, the stuff that they did. Speaking about the dancing, that's something that I didn't really enjoy in the show. The choreographer is Lynn Page, and I don't know, the choreography was good, but I don't think it was memorable because I don't even really remember what happened, what they did. There weren't very many dance numbers anyway, which was surprising in itself because, I mean, it's the Spice Girls and they were known for their big, energetic, positive, fun, dancing. But the few big dancing scenes that were in the show, I don't know, I mean, I can't even really remember what they were like, which means they weren't very memorable because otherwise I'm sure they would have made an impact on me. The choreographer of the show is Lynn Page, and I don't know, I mean, the choreography was okay, it just wasn't anything special. And like I said, for a show like this, I wanted a lot more exciting choreography on stage, and I didn't really see that when I saw the show. One thing that I did really like about the show, though, and I think that's probably the best thing about the whole musical, was the script. The script is obviously written by Jennifer Saunders, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant, very clever, very witty, very funny, lots of big laugh-out-loud moments. It just felt like a rom-com film or something. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I enjoyed it. The songs as well, obviously, I mean, it's the Spice Girls, they're classics, but the way some of them were used was a bit weird, I thought. Most of them were used very well, actually. Unlike shows like Mamma Mia, I thought they did well in trying to kind of include the songs of the Spice Girls into a show, because it's always ridiculous when you have songs first and you have to build a show around the songs. But I thought they did a good job for the most part with this. A few of them were a bit dodgy, the way they used them, but I still enjoyed them. The show starts with Wannabe, probably Spice Girls' biggest ever hit, and I thought that was actually really good. And when I first saw the show, the opening of the show, I had high hopes for the show because I thought they opened it very well, and I just think it kind of went downhill from there. But I do have to say a bit more about the opening because it was really, really good. Before the show even started, they had loads of TVs and screens outside on stage. And it started with loads of different random people telling us about how they want to become famous for different reasons, like, oh, I want to be famous because it's always been my dream, all this typical stuff that you get on reality TV shows. And there were loads of different screens with different people pretty much saying the same thing, wanting the same goal. And that was followed by a big ensemble routine of Wannabe, the song. Probably the most famous song by the Spice Girls. And that was great. It was a very strong, exciting opening to the show. Just out of interest, I'm going to comment a bit on the set as well. The set was very simple for the most part. I mean, the show takes place on a boat, a television studio, and in Spain. So 3 different locations, pretty much. I thought the Spain scene was very, very funny, actually, because it was very bad. It was so random. Viva's basically gone to Spain as part of her reality TV journey thing, and all of a sudden they started singing songs in there with random people, like people in funny costumes, and it was just, I don't know, it was weird and I didn't like it. They do use a revolve on stage, but I'm not quite sure if it was needed because it doesn't really do much. I'm trying to remember what the main purpose of it was. I can't, to be honest, but it did work well, and the scenes when they were in the TV studio especially looked great. I don't really know what else to say about the show. I mean, actually, one more thing. I thought the ending was very good. The bows went on for way too long in my opinion, so I think they're going to change that. Obviously, like I said, it was the second preview, so it was inevitably not going to be perfect. But I did feel like, you know, they just overdid the bows a bit and the audience got a bit bored of clapping, and they just seemed to go on and on forever. Like, the actors came on stage like, I think 3 different times, and I don't know, it was just not very good. But the section after the bows was very, very good, very exciting. They came back obviously on stage, and I think they sang Wanna Be Again and Stop, if I'm correct. Yeah, and it was just, you know, trying to get the audience involved and everyone standing and clapping and singing along. So that was fun. And that's how most jukebox musicals tend to end, so they just follow the trend really. Overall, I was a bit disappointed with the show, but at the same time, I thought it was better than I'd expected it to be. So I'm not quite sure where I stand, to be honest. I wouldn't go and see it again anytime soon. I mean, I don't think I can anyway, because like I said, it's pretty much sold out for the next few months. But, you know, with some shows, you come out of the show and you immediately want to go back and see it again. And even though there was some very, very good individual performance in the show, and like I said, I enjoyed the book of the show, and the songs were obviously great, it wasn't enough to make me want to go back. And I thought the story itself, I don't really know, the story itself was lacking a bit. The choreography, like I said, wasn't very exciting. There just wasn't enough going on for me to want to go back anytime soon. However, if you're a Spice Girls fan, then I'm sure you're going to love it, because the place, the theatre that night, was pretty much packed with Spice Girls fans. Like I said, I like the Spice Girls, but I wouldn't consider myself a massive Spice Girls fan. I just think they're great. But there were people there who must have been crazy Spice Girls fans when they were younger, and I think that's actually great, because it's, you know, it's bringing new people to the theatre, to the West End. And that's always what happens with jukebox musicals. You know, it brings new audiences to the West End, and that's a good thing. Some of the people, I'm sure most of the people in that theatre that night hadn't seen a West End show before, or if they had, it wouldn't have been any time recent. So in that sense, I'm glad that this show has opened. On the other hand, I don't know. I mean, that theatre could be used for more original shows, probably better shows than this, but who knows? At the end of the day, this show was fun. It is something different to what the West End has to offer, and I did enjoy it to some extent, and I'm sure it's going to do really, really well, because obviously the Spice Girls, and it's going to be there for quite a while. And the opening, I think it opens officially on the 11th of December, and I'm sure until then they're going to improve things and make it better. Yesterday, or when I saw it last night, the show did overrun by about 20 minutes from what it said in the programme. But again, obviously these are things that are going to be improved by the time it opens officially. If you have already seen the show, feel free to leave comments. If you have any questions about the show, again, leave comments and I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you for watching as always, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye!